what debut season Arne Slot has had for Liverpool. None of us expected this. If you are being honest, none of us. We all thought it would have been like a rebuilding process. They lost a few players, Sadio Mane and all these other guys. So we felt like, nah, this would be something different. But they won the Premier League. Yeah. How do you see their season and everything? What do you think Arne Slot did right?
Yeah, no, honestly, like you said, it was a huge surprise to see them finish above Man City this season. Again, as you said, we thought it was all going to be a rebuilding year just because of how Klopp was so ingrained in the
Yeah.
team, the community as a whole, and the players, the connection he had with the players. He was the one that pretty much made some of these players, gave
Yeah.
them the opportunity.
Yeah.
Uh, so we thought the passing of the guard to Arnold Slot was going to be a little bit more bumpier than it was.
Yeah.
But it didn't turn out to be that way. He surprised everybody,
Yeah.
and he really came and hit the ground running, installing his philosophy,
Yeah.
making it clear how he wanted his team to play and the kind of mentality he wanted his players to have. And all the players bought into it.
Mm.
That's a very difficult thing to achieve as a coach. All your players buying into your philosophy at once. And yeah, he was successful. He got the best out of a lot of the players, out of Mo Salah
Yeah.
and Arnold
Yeah.
and all of the guys, Luis Diaz. So it was good for them. They had a fantastic season, winning the trophy for the first time in front of an audience.
Yeah.
This one is going to feel a little bit more real than the other one that they
Yeah.
won in COVID.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I'm happy for them. Liverpool. I'm happy for Liverpool's success.
Mm.
And yeah, they did well. Some of their players didn't get to play a huge role, like Darwin Nunes.
Yeah.
He was one of the disappointing factors.
Yeah.
People thought he was going to have a breakout season under the new coach. It didn't turn out that way, but overall, I'll give Liverpool a B plus season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So a player like Darwin Nunes, he was one of my favorite players. Remember what he did to us in the Champions League? He messed Barca up when he was at Benfica.
Yeah.
He scored a brace and everything. But we had big expectations for him, and he didn't live up to them. But yeah, talking about their key players, someone like a player like Mo Salah, year in, year out, he keeps producing. He was a top scorer this time. He has been the top scorer about 3 times or something already, and then he's the top scorer again this time. I feel like Musala is a little bit unlucky because sometimes, at the start of this season, he was kind of in the Ballon d'Or conversation, but when they went out in the Champions League and their form started deep, they went out in their cup competitions and stuff. The focus shifted from him. But if you look at how they started the season, I think at the end of this season, he should have been part of the conversation. But it's like, what does Salah have to do? Because the guy has been unlucky. Even the year where he scored, he broke that record that Haaland came to
Right.
break. Yeah, he
Right.
was even in the conversation. But what the other players? I think was it the World Cup? I don't know, something that didn't give him the chance to win. Who won? Was it Messi? Copa America? There's always something. There's always
Yeah.
like an international tournament there where we
Right.
factor heavily in the Ballon d'Or or something. So
Right.
what is the way forward for Mo Salah? He has a new contract now. Do you think next
Yeah.
season might be his season?
Well, you can never say never.
Yeah,
But as he approaches that stage, he's about 32, 33 at the
yeah,
moment. So he's up in age. So he has a finite amount of time left.
yeah,
But yeah, with Mo Salah, what else can you say? He's a fantastic player, very consistent. You're gonna get at least 22 goals a season
yeah,
in the league from Mo Salah. Um, I think his downfall is when it comes to the international level.
yeah,
You know, just because his team internationally he hasn't won any many trophies. that are counted towards the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like he gets left out a little bit
Yeah.
and outshined by his other opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you people sometimes with these players it's neck and neck
Yeah.
that you really it's all by fine margins.
Yeah.
So they really get into the nitty gritty when it gets so close, and
Mm.
it's very easy to eliminate Salah
Yeah.
from that conversation just due to his lack of contribution internationally,
Yeah.
and his team just not winning trophies,
Yeah.
internationally. But besides that, fantastic player and
Yeah.
very humble, good person, consistent, and that's all you can ask for as a player.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't think he'll be winning the Ballon d'Or this year.
yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
if he doesn't win it this year, I don't think he's winning it next year either because there's a World Cup next year. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's too bad for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, there have been other players who have made a big impact. See, listen, in Liverpool's midfield, we talk about the Gerrards and all these old guys, but this young crop of like the McAllisters, the Ryan Gravenberch, because a player like Ryan Gravenberch under Jurgen Klopp, he was
Right.
on the bench the whole time. He played less than what 10 games or something. He started less than 10 games. I mean, and he
Mhm.
wasn't a key player, but now it seems like he's a key player in this Liverpool squad. He can't be
Mhm.
benched. Same as someone like McAllister, you know. McAllister,
Mhm.
we knew he was good because we saw him. Yeah, I knew he was good even before Argentina called him because I watched him a few times at Brighton. He was actually very
Right.
good. I wondered why it took so long for them to call him, but yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how and another thing I forgot to add was Arne Slot didn't sign any player. So he worked with the same squad that Jurgen Klopp worked with them in the previous season. And then he managed
Mhm.
to win the Premier League with them. So yeah. Let's talk about their midfield a little.
Mhm. Yeah, no. So the players that you mentioned are all outstanding players. Gravenberg picking up the best young player of the season,
Yeah.
which he well deserved. He
Yeah.
played very pivotal part of your success, pivotal
Yeah.
part of your midfield.
Yeah.
Very tough physically and smart
Yeah.
on the pitch with the ball. And yeah, no, he's gonna be an instrumental part in your future because he's still very young.
Yeah.
And with McAllister, he's a big time player. We've
Yeah.
already known that.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been watching him ever since he was in Brighton, and
Yeah.
we've known what he's capable of. And he's a big time player. Like I said, World Cup winner. He's
Yeah.
played in the big games. He knows
Yeah.
what it takes. He knows the mentality to have. So it's always a plus having those players that have been in the big games to
Yeah.
help the other players get ready mentally for the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that duo really played a key part in
Yeah.
pushing Liverpool to the finish line
Yeah.
this year. And yeah, those guys are durable as well. They didn't face many injuries this season. And again, the most important thing about being a player is being available,
Yeah.
you know, to display your skills and all the
Yeah.
hard work you put in. So yeah, those guys did a tremendous job in that aspect this season, and yeah, congrats to them and Liverpool.
Yeah. Um so yeah, looking forward to next season. We'll talk about Arsenal shortly, but looking forward to next season. Liverpool managed to renew Van Dijk and Mo Salah's contracts. They wanted Arnold to renew as well, but they couldn't get him. They already
Mhm.
replaced him with Jeremy Frimpong
Mhm.
on the right from the Bayer Leverkusen, and it looks like Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen is also going to
Mhm.
Liverpool, and they
Mhm.
are also negotiating with Kekes, a left back from Bournemouth, who is also quite good.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so what do you think about their prospects next season? Because their team actually looks a little solid, more solid than this season, if you think about it. Because
Yeah.
Frimpong can't give you the crosses or something that Arnold can give, but he's quick and he's
Mhm.
skillful and he's
Right,
better defensively. And
right.
they've managed to renew players like Van Dijk and Co. So yeah,
Mhm.
what do you think
Yeah,
about and Vets as well, number 10.
right,
That yeah,
right.
so yeah,
So yeah, no, like you said, I think the team will be stronger if they manage to land all these signings.
Yeah.
because Vert is a very technical player. He too can add some goals just to alleviate the
Yeah.
pressure from
Yeah.
Salah, so they don't have
Yeah.
to heavily depend on Salah.
Yeah.
And he brings a new level of creativity
Okay.
that Liverpool lack to an extent.
Yeah.
And for as for Frimpong, I think that is going to be the best signing that they make this summer
Yeah.
because, like you said, he's definitely better defensively, and he has tremendous pace. He can really
Yeah.
push the ball up front,
Yeah.
even though he lacks the passing ability.
Yeah.
The midfielders would be there to
Yeah.
compensate for that.
Yeah.
So he can do the job better defensively, and he's also just because of his sheer pace, he has the ability to recover when a mistake is made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think it's a great signing, and Liverpool is even going to be stronger for it, and it's going to be an exciting season for the Liverpool fans.
That's right. I also think same. I think they might have a chance of retaining it if maybe a team like Manchester City doesn't sit up. But anyway, moving on to the Gunners, Arsenal. Another season, next season will be better. Patrice,
uh,
from the famous Patrice era, he said watching Arsenal is like watching Netflix. You're always waiting for next season. Every
oh
time next season,
wow.
next season, next season, next season. So they've Ateta came to the club 5 years ago, and he has won just
Yeah.
the FA Cup and then the Community Shield, and he has signed players worth over 800, almost £1 billion, £1 billion,
Mm,
and they are still talking about next season, next season. This next season is his sixth season, if I'm not wrong.
yeah.
He has signed a whole set of defenders: Califiori, Timber, Ben White,
Yeah.
Tomiyasu. He has
Hmm.
signed all of them. He has signed a new goalkeeper. He has signed Kai Havertz. He has signed Jesus. He has
Mm,
signed. The board literally gave him whoever he wanted. And it's
correct.
still next season. We are second. Nobody remembers who was second. If I ask you the season where Leicester won, who was second, most people don't even remember unless we
Yeah,
who
it was
actually,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was Tottenham, but
Yes,
the average person wouldn't know.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So saying it's like nobody cares who was second, and they keep
Right.
telling us that. And if it's down to second, I mean Manchester United was second under Ole, and even Ten Hag in his first season he was second. Yes, he was second, and
Yeah.
Mourinho was also second. So if you are talking now, if you are talking about second, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, second is not
that's
good
what it
enough.
is.
So like
No.
let's talk about the way for what do you think is the way for it for Arsenal? Because forget about the star players. Arsenal, we don't need about just what is the way forward for them because they are so annoying to watch.
Yeah.
Their fans are so annoying as well.
No, exactly. So with Arsenal, I think the way right now what you're missing is a focal point up
Yeah,
front.
yeah,
They really lack a striker. They need to go
yeah,
shopping for a striker. Like that's not any questions because they've tried all these false nines and stuff. It didn't work.
yeah,
They've even when Arteta had a chance to sign a striker, he went on to go sign Gabriel Jesus,
yeah,
which you cannot win a Premier League with Gabriel Jesus up front. They need a focal point that they're like, yes, this is our striker. This is someone that is gonna be the one finishing all our plays. And yeah, I think they can even go for a Victor Osimhen,
yeah,
and he would be a good fit for Liverpool. I mean
yeah,
Arsenal.
yeah,
So I just think Arsenal they're a decent team. I would even go as far as saying you're a good team, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
But they have all the positions filled up, but they're just missing that
yeah,
focal point, and they're also missing that mentality as well.
yeah,
The mentality of just going for it, winning games, because it's difficult to have that mentality when you have players like Kai Havertz,
yeah,
Gabriel Jesus, and you're forcing them to play up front. That's not going to win you much,
yeah, yeah,
especially when you have Harvard missing glaring chances just
yeah,
right there.
yeah,
So yeah, and at the end of the season, they come up with decent stats, but
yeah,
then it's like they didn't play that well.
yeah,
So again, I think Arsenal is just right on the brink of something great. They just really need to get some solid players up front, some strikers that are relentless, that are ruthless, ruthless in
Yeah,
front of goal. So that's what they miss. They miss that killer instinct players.
yeah,
So yeah, they just really have to splurge on a striker. There's the Sporting striker who's looking
yeah,
for a team now.
yeah,
Ozyman is looking for a team. So yeah, they really have to go look for that because they
yeah,
need it. They need it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thinking about that too. In my opinion, I think Arsenal overestimate, or they think that their players are actually better than they actually are. Because when you look at the Arsenal team, besides a player like Odegaard, not I don't even think Saka is as good as they think he is. They think he's like maybe Mbappe. He's not that good. If you are being honest,
Right.
Saka is a decent
Right.
player. And the same thing for the other players like Martinelli,
Martinelli.
and all, they are not
Mm,
that good. Like
yeah.
Martinelli is not the player who is going to win you the league or something. So I
Right.
think they should wake up from that delusional mindset. They should see their players for what they actually are. They are
Right.
good players, but they are not world class players.
Right. Right. Right.
Yes. Besides a
So
player like Odegaard. Yeah. So yeah, Arsenal should actually check that. So as you said they needed a striker, a focal point, and that's what a lot of pundits have been saying. Gary Neville and co. Striker, striker, striker. So if you're Arsenal, which striker do you think you want? Or which striker do
oh
you think will fit for Arsenal?
yeah. Oh, for me, yeah, for me, like I mentioned before, I think Victor Osimhen can be a good fit,
Yeah,
because he has the pace, he can keep up with the wingers,
yeah,
and he's decent with his feet.
yeah,
He's an aerial threat, and yeah, no, he's also good physically. You
yeah.
need a physical presence over there. So I think uh, Osimhen should be number one choice, and I think he's looking for a team now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And the guy from Sporting as well.
yeah.
I find a hard time pronouncing his name. You
Jokeres.
know,
Victor Jokeres.
Gyökeres. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he too can also be a good fit, because
Yeah,
he's scoring a boatloads of goals over there.
yeah,
I'm sure. Let's see how good he does in the
yeah,
EPL, but I think he too can be a good fit. I've not watched much of his game
yeah.
since
Me
he's
too.
in the Portuguese league, but
Yeah,
I think number one option should be Victor Osimhen, and I think they
yeah,
can even get him for cheap. To be
yeah.
honest, they can get him for cheap. So I think they should really go all out for him, and then he'll
Mm,
be a good fit. You
yeah.
know.
Okay. So yeah, we'll be talking about Manchester United very soon. But before before we move,
Uh,
I have an Arsenal friend who says Arteta out. What do you think? Do you think Arteta should stay, or they should give him one more season, or they need someone new?
just because of the history of Arsenal and
Yeah,
their patience that they've had,
yeah,
and the history that Arteta has with the club,
yeah,
I would say Arteta should stay, give him one more season. At
yeah,
this point, these are the players that he's requested,
yeah.
and he's had a few years with them. But next season, if he doesn't win any big, significant trophy, yeah, he has to start packing his bags.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, as I said, on to Manchester United. This club,
Wow. I
wow. You
mean,
see, we have no words for these people. These
yeah,
guys,
like,
eh? At the start of the season, Eric Ten Hag was in charge, and then we're playing poorly,
mm,
and we all said, "Oh, Ruben Amorim, some signed this guy player there," and then the board finally listened, they sacked him, and then there was Ruben Amorim in. And I saw a Manchester United fan said something to me. He said, "We, even though Ten Hag was doing bad, and then people say these are Ten Hag's players. And this
mhm.
Ruben Amorim didn't sign any of them, but he said when Amorim came into the club, they didn't expect to be where they were. Like even though they knew
Oh
that
yeah,
they won't win or they won't win the league or win anything, They were down there. They were battling with the relegation teams. You see, they were down there. So like,
Uh,
it's actually bad. And he says he doesn't think Amorim can actually do the job because from the way he talks, it looks like he wants to run away even. And I saw, yes, I saw Gary Neville saying something like he shouldn't be saying things. He should be saying like, because he was like, if they want him to go, he'll go. If they want him to stay, that kind of thing.
right, right.
So he was like, no, he should rather say something like, we'll fix it.
Defiant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so what do you think about Amorim and the season they've had?
I mean, one word to describe it would just be abysmal. It's just chaos. It just they look like headless chickens running around on the pitch. No structure.
Uh,
I mean, this is just so bad because every time there's a new coach that takes over,
yeah,
there's a period where the players start to win games. Just
yeah,
at least like a 5 game period where they win
yeah,
games. Just because you're excited about the new manager, they want to prove him right. They
yeah,
want a space in the team.
yeah,
That never happened with Almiron, actually.
yeah,
As soon as he came, they were just losing games left, right, center, left, right, center. This has to be the worst I've seen Man United in my lifetime.
yeah,
You
definitely,
know what I mean? And
definitely,
I don't see any way out of it for them. They've signed some new players. They actually signed the striker from Wolves today.
yeah,
The Brazilian striker from Wolves,
Cunha,
Acuna, I think,
yeah,
Cunha, and I think he's a great player, fine
yeah,
player. It might be tough for him in Man United,
yeah,
because they went on to make these unproving signings such
mm,
as Xerxes,
yeah,
Hoyland,
yeah,
all of these guys. You can't expect these young strikers to lead the line.
yeah.
Hoyland has to be the worst signing of the
Uh,
century. You know what I mean? And
this
and
guy,
Xerxes,
yeah,
Xerxes is just a waste of space.
yeah,
He can barely control the ball, and he doesn't even look like a striker. He looks more like a winger or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
So it almost looks like these kids are playing out of position.
yeah.
The whole team is a mess. Like, I'm just so glad that they didn't win
Europa
this
League,
small Europa League
yeah,
against Tottenham,
yeah,
because then they would have considered the season as a success.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and that's how low the
Delusional.
Man United fan. Exactly. They would have been happy that they won that trophy, even though you're sitting at 17th on the table. It's
Yeah,
absolutely shambolic for Man
yeah,
United, and honestly, I don't even know if there's a way out. I think it's just deeply rooted into the
mm,
management, upper management, and just your whole facilities.
yeah,
Because they have all these players that are still up in limbo. Like
yeah,
someone like Marcus Rashford, he's
yeah,
he's he's scheduled to come back
yeah,
to Man United.
yeah,
How is that going to pan out?
yeah,
So yeah, I just think the whole club is a mess. It's almost like a kid's playground.
yeah,
The kids don't know what to do, and they just, like I said, running on the pitch like headless chickens. And they don't deserve to play in Champions League. So it's
yeah,
a good thing that
definitely,
they didn't
definitely.
win,
Yeah,
because again, the team is really not good, and
mm,
I don't see any bright light in the team.
yeah,
Like nothing. Because
uh,
even the young
uh,
players that were supposedly going to come up, like the Kobe
yeah,
Mainums,
yeah. They've all
all
fallen
of
off.
them, exactly. So it's a Man United problem. It's deeply
Yeah.
rooted in the team.
And then one more thing about United before we move. There's this, it looks like there's a culture of destroying players at Manchester United. Because if you look at all the players that have gone on loan and that have left the club, three examples: Marcus Rashford, Anthony, and Scott McTominay. These
Mm,
three
mm,
players, look at what Anthony is doing at Real Betis.
mm.
He's literally one of their best players this half season since he went. Because of Anthony, I've been watching Real Betis. And even yes, I've been the last game he scored a banger of a goal, one of
Yeah.
those his killing goals.
Mm.
McTominay was the MVP in the Serie A. He was the best player in the Serie A, the whole
That's
Serie A.
wild.
That's
Yeah.
wild. A player, if you think of a player like we don't put much respect on his name because of how we saw him at Man U. But he was
Right.
actually the best player in the Serie A, double figures in goals, double figures in assists, and all that. And
Yeah.
Rashford as well. Even Rashford, who was still in England, Aston Villa, he had a pretty good season, but he was playing well. He was a starter. When he came, he was on the bench. But eventually, he fought his way to the team and he was starting. Even in the Champions League, he did very well. So it looks like Man U have a culture of destroying players. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. You know, we see the worst out of players when they go there. You know, even we can go down the list: Casemiro,
Yeah,
Angel Di Maria, Cavani, all of them were flops. Memphis Depay,
yeah,
and so yeah, I think it's just a lack of structure in the team as a
yeah,
whole. You know, like they just haven't found your identity since the departure of Ferguson,
yeah,
and they've just kind of been hanging on to history as part of their joy. You know, um, for the last decade, they've been abysmal as a team,
yeah.
and I've heard many of them people calling for them to clear them like grass. Just clear the whole team, clear the team, and start all over again. Just sack all the players, all
Yeah,
of them. You know, because I think that's the only way out of
yeah,
this. You know, because even you look at Alanga, who was an up and coming
yeah,
star, uh, barely made an impact in Man
yeah.
United, and then you see him
It's
in
now one
Nottingham
of the best
Forest.
players. Yeah,
Exactly, you know. So I do believe Man United is a curse. Even you can see the great Alexis Sanchez, who was
yeah,
a baller in Barcelona. To this day, he still plays. You know,
yeah,
shows his longevity.
yeah,
But yeah, Man United is just a team because it's a structureless team. There's no structure, so it's very hard for players that are used to structure to
yeah,
just fit in. You know,
yeah,
and you look at Mason Mount, who I believe was overhyped,
yeah.
you
Overhyped.
know.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
now that he's in Man United, like he's just everyone sees him for who he is,
Yeah,
like
shambolic.
absolute fraud, you
Yeah,
know. So Man United really has that knack of destroying players, you know.
yeah,
And to again, I would have to just point it to the structure of the team. They just lack
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it is, you know.
That's what it
we
is.
we could spend the whole podcast talking about how abysmal Man United is, you
Yeah,
know.
they are too bad. They are
Yeah.
so bad to watch. But
So,
they make a fun. They make the game fun because they always concede a lot, and then they let mediocre teams look like prime Barcelona. So like,
exactly.
yeah,
And I never miss a Manchester United game.
yeah,
I'm
me
always
too.
there to watch, you know. I even watched them today struggle against
Yeah,
Aston
Aston
Villa,
Villa.
you know.
Yeah, but they won though. But still,
Nah, barely.
yeah,
You know, to 10 men Aston Villa.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. Last season's champions. We are moving on to last
Yeah.
season champions, Manchester City. They had a
Hmm.
very tough season with
Right.
they lost like what got to in a period they lost like 9 games in a row or something, or 9 games like without a win or something like that. They
Hmm.
struggled in the Champions League as well. They lost to Real Madrid, even though they put up a fight in that game. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this Real Madrid team wasn't a team to lose to. That's the problem.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but they started picking up, getting to the end of the season. Erling
Hmm.
Haaland didn't have the same season that he had last year, last 2 years, and all that. So
Hmm.
yeah, what do you think about their season in general?
Yeah, well, this season was underwhelming. You know,
Yeah,
we're used to seeing City be on top of the pedestal and always in pole position, you know, first place. But at the end of the day, they have been playing long seasons. You know, they play throughout the seasons, and they've won a lot of trophies. They've won, is it five in a row?
yeah,
Or is it
four, four,
four in a
four in a
row?
row.
4 in a row. That has never been done before, you
Yeah,
know. So that definitely takes a lot of wear and tear
yeah,
and a lot of mental strength. So I feel like they've been tired.
yeah,
And to be honest, I feel like some of the players got a little bit arrogant, you
yeah,
know, especially Holland, you know.
yeah.
After Holland made that, hey, be humble, eh?
Yeah,
To the Arsenal
Arteta.
players,
Yeah,
that has been the downfall.
yeah.
Ever since then, they've not been good, you know.
Mm, mm.
So I feel like it was just a mentality thing. The players just felt like they were just gonna show up to games, and just
Yeah,
because you're Man City, you're
yeah,
just gonna do it business as usual.
yeah,
And it's not like that in professional sports. The
yeah,
other teams analyze you
yeah,
every year, and they want to exploit your weaknesses.
yeah,
So they really do your job in analyzing you, and
yeah,
they figured out the way Man City play, and they figured out how to isolate Haaland, you
Yeah.
know? And so like that's why we've seen him have such a lackluster season that he had. And also injuries played a part in that as
Yeah.
well to an extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Man City just got a little bit complacent because
Yeah.
they've been winning for so long, you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can bounce back. You know, hopefully they can bounce back. They're gonna need to do a lot of work in the summer transfer market.
Yeah.
Um, but I think they can bounce back though, you
Yeah.
know, they can bounce back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think they'll actually bounce back next season, but let's see. So they've lost Kevin De Bruyne, arguably their
Yeah.
best player in the history of the club.
Mm.
And personally, I don't know why they didn't renew his contract. I think he was just hurt and then he wasn't fully fit, or he came back
Yeah.
too fast. So he
Too
looked like,
early.
yeah,
Yeah.
too early. So he looked like he was a little slow, but I think he can actually play because he's just 33. In modern
Yeah.
football, 33 is not that old. Some of us, we
Yeah.
wish we could get Messi at 33 again.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So I think he actually think he can play, and he's on the verge of going to Napoli. I saw.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I think that would be a good move for them. But now
Yeah.
City have to fill that void because when you watch him play for City, City pass too much, and when the ball goes to him, he can just give a cross to Haaland, like those his banana. You know, it
Right.
was like when he's not in the game, you can see that there's no one who can do things like that. So it's like they just keep passing side to side, side to
Side to
side,
side.
side. Yeah.
Hmm.
So who is the player you think can fill that position? Because I'm not seeing anyone who is good enough to fill that position, honestly.
Yeah. Well, there's no one ever gonna be like De Bruyne. You know, De
Yeah,
Bruyne is a one of one. You
yeah,
know, the way he pings the passes, no
yeah,
one can ever replicate that.
yeah,
But at this stage, people would hope to say Phil Foden,
yeah.
since his market his market values are like 145 million.
Yeah.
So people would hope that Phil Foden, but he too has underperformed this season.
Yeah,
He went from winning the Premier League Player of the Season to just kind of dwindling down.
yeah,
So honestly, I can't really think of a player in the current Manchester City squad that's going to be able to ping the passes like that.
yeah,
Yeah, unless they go to the transfer market to find a
yeah,
new player, and again, it's not going to be of Kevin De Bruyne's
yeah,
caliber because
yeah,
again, he is a one of one, fantastic player.
yeah,
And yeah, I've also heard the rumors going to Napoli. That would be great for Napoli, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be actually a good signing because I think he can play. Italy, they like the old guys. I'm surprised Inter Milan hasn't come for him because Inter Milan really do a good job with that. They signed Mkhitaryan and all these guys, these old guys. And then
Alexis Sanchez,
yes, that's what Inter Milan do. And they surround them with like a few young guys like Barella and Co. And
Barella,
yes,
yeah,
so that's what they do. So I'm even surprised he
yeah,
didn't go there. But anyway. We are on limited time, so we have one
yeah,
more team to talk about. Chelsea FC. They are in the
yeah.
Conference League final now. They've qualified for the Champions League already. They're what, fifth or fourth? I think they're fourth.
Mm.
Yeah. So, what do you think about their season in general?
So the season was all right, to be honest. At the start, well, at least I had high hopes for them just
Yeah,
because they were firing off,
yeah,
and they had a superstar in Cole Palmer, it seemed,
yeah,
and yeah, they were playing pretty well with a new coach. And you see, they had that moment, you know, when they
yeah,
have a new coach,
yeah,
all the players want to play for that new
yeah,
coach. Is what we expected was going to happen in Man United, but yeah, after that honeymoon period kind of went down, and they had to actually come and play. The players didn't show up for the moment. You know, they
yeah,
just kind of started going back to their unstructured ways,
yeah,
and some of their strikers kind of missing glaring
yeah,
chances. Uh, Nicolas Jackson falling off form, Cole Palmer going cold, and
yeah,
so yeah, no, no pun intended, you know, and Kukureya making costly mistakes in the
yeah,
back. A whole factors went into it, and it's almost like they almost lost concentration
yeah, yeah.
because at one point they were like
They were
second, you
second,
know.
yes. They were actually
Yeah,
second. They were close to City at the time. City was first at the
yeah.
time. They were so close to
It was
them.
like it was like a 3 point gap or something,
Yeah,
you know. And so yeah, I think it was a lack of concentration and
Yeah,
just having a youthful team, a young team. Like remember the season prior, they had that little skerfuffle over the penalty.
yeah,
Nicholas Jackson and
and
Cole Palmer.
Kopama. Yeah,
That yeah, that didn't happen this year, but
yeah,
you can still see that
yeah,
they're still young. You know, they need
yeah,
to mature a little bit.
yeah,
They still lose concentration when
yeah,
it's a pivotal time of the season,
yeah,
and then you see them dropping points to like Bradford or something. You know,
yeah,
which Bradford is a good team, but if
yeah,
you want to consider yourself a big team,
yeah.
these are the teams you have to take
You
points
have to
from. You
be,
know,
yeah, yeah.
so
That's
yeah,
yes, yeah. So now they have a chance to win a trophy at least in the Conference League final. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, since Todd Bowley came to the club, they spent over what, $1 billion or something.
Yeah,
they've signed more than 40 players. I just
yeah,
found
that's
out that that's
ridiculous.
ridiculous, and they've used about less than half of them of the
Yeah,
40
yeah,
players. Most of
yeah,
them are like on the fringes of the club. Some of them are on loan. You know,
yeah.
some of them are always hurt. Like Fofana, it's always hurt.
Like yeah, like
For
even
some,
we've forgotten about
eh,
Mudrik.
yes, even Mudrik
Mudrik
has been
is
banned.
is he still a player?
I don't know, he's
Like
serving like a 1 year ban or something, or 4 year. I don't know.
oh
For
okay.
he
The
tested
doping.
positive, yes, for something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, that's what's Chelsea's problem is. But I
yeah.
don't think they have a similar situation, but like as Arsenal, but their fans are not as delusional as Arsenal's fans because they actually see their players for what they are. You know, they see
Right.
that they see that maybe Kukureya or Kopama is good, but he's not going to take them there. Like like how Arsenal think that Saka is Messi. You know, that Arsenal, they
Ah,
think that Saka is Messi. So I think
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
good thing for Chelsea. And looking forward to next season, they can still qualify for the Champions League and anything, but I don't think they're going to make any real waves or anything. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
anything else to add about Chelsea quickly before we go?
No, with Chelsea, they just need to just improve your mentality as a team and just kind of play together as a team. You know, just want to see each other win. Yeah, they just need to get more clinical players because Madueke, Jackson,
Yeah.
Sancho, all of these guys are now clinical
Sancho,
finishers. You know,
Sancho. Oh,
you know. So that's what it is. But yeah, for me, not much else to say on Chelsea. You know.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
So that is it for our Premier League wrap up. Thank you for joining me today, and yeah, we'll do more of
absolutely.
this. We'll do more of this.
Yeah,
The transfers
for
are
sure,
coming
for
up.
sure.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, we have to
we
talk
have to
about
talk about
those.
some of those. Yeah. So yeah.
For
Thank you
sure,
very
man. An
much for
honor.
joining. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's an honor being here, man. I appreciate it. Always cool to hang out with Henry over here,
Yeah.
make some videos, some content.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, all
All
right.
right.